Previously on the Rod Pedersen Show.
Who's the biggest? Alan, how would you answer this question as to who's winning NHL free agency here 4 days into it?
Well, you know, I would say I look at the Toronto Maple Leafs, and they've added better skaters, guys that can move the puck, that they can play with a better pace. I thought they had too many guys that were slow last season. I didn't like their defense. I like their defense with I'm not against Luke Shen. I just didn't like him playing as the number one right D-man. I thought he should be in the third hole and be your number 6-7 guy. Justin Holl, haven't been a big fan of, but I think you add Klingberg to the mix. And what he can do in the power play, right shot defenseman, you never know if he's going to pass or shoot. He can get the puck up the ice. I think they needed that. They needed to improve the skating on the back end. And there's a few tweaks that they can make over the course of the season. But I thought when they brought those players in late in the year, they were slow. They had identities, but they were slow. And as we saw in these playoffs, you had to be fast and you had to be physical. Well, if you can't get there, you can't be physical. And I didn't think the Leafs could get there in the playoffs. So I think the Leafs have done a very good job of making a better team. I'm a big fan of Brad Treliving and the things that he thinks are important in building teams. And I'd expect he's probably going to go to the Calgary Flames well, and probably try to find someone he can grab off the blue line there to really upgrade the Toronto Maple Leafs back end.
Get ready for the Rod Pedersen Show. Right now, Darren.
You know, Andre Dupont, the old Philadelphia Flyer tough guy, was nicknamed Moose.
And you being a tough guy.
Right. But in hockey, when I was younger, another player came across the middle and made the most devastating check I've ever made in my life. Take off the helmet, and it's a girl. And so the coach slapped it. Attaboy, Moose. Just like the Moose. And I'm like, I have no idea who that is, right?
The one sports show where roughing is encouraged.
Hey, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you happen to be watching. Welcome to the Rod Pedersen Show. Darren DuPont out in the hot Carolina sun as we welcome you in on a Wednesday afternoon. Yes, noon Eastern. It is 10 a.m. out in the mountains, back up in Canada. But we are here in North Carolina. I'll get to that coming up in a moment. Darren DuPont with you here today. Rod is traveling. He'll be down with me later this week. We are here and going to be calling a lot of football. It is a big flag football event, including the IFAF International World Flag Championships. That's happening over on the main court. We got a lot of the Flag One Championships back here. USA Football is the host, and they brought Rod and I down here to do some of the play-by-play duties that we'll be handling a little bit throughout the week and then setting up for championship weekend this weekend. So we are in Charlotte on the campus of UNC. This is going to be fun. The Carolina Panthers are going to be a part of this week. I'm going to be coming down for some fan activities, so we're going to be spending some time with them, getting to know these teams, getting to know USA Football a little bit. And the Canadian teams are here. I know Canada was playing just over my shoulder just a few moments ago, and I think they were winning, so that was good. Go Canada. They'll be up against the U.S. on the women's side tomorrow. So lots of fun happening here all week. And, of course, Rod will be back in the show and in the big chair tomorrow. Lots to get to on today's program. It's going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to move fast. Little housekeeping, 902-518-3033 is the number to text the show. Get your text messages in right now. We'll get to that in a moment. We'll get to the poll question for Key coming up shortly as well. Justin Dunk will be alongside here in hour one. DaShaun Amos of the Toronto Argonauts will be alongside for our weekly CFLPA Player Spotlight later this hour. And Nick Alberga, the host of Leafs Morning Take on the Nation Network, will be alongside in hour two. We'll get his assessment on General Manager Brad Treliving's activity through 5 days of free agency. And are the Leafs a better team now than they were a couple of months ago, or are they worse? than when they played the Florida Panthers in round 2 and lost in 5 games in that second round series in the NHL playoffs. We'll find out about that. We've gone yesterday with Alan May, the Washington Capitals, and we had hustler Andrew Pedersen from Winnipeg Sports Talk on yesterday, getting an intimate look at the Jets. So today we'll go out east and look at the Toronto Maple Leafs in free agency and look at maybe what's next. We'll also get to the CFL as well. But Clark, you let me know when Justin's logged in and ready. Plenty going on today. Yeah, absolutely. So while we wait for Justin, let's get to a couple of things. Yesterday was a great day getting into Carolina, and this is a place I've never been. I don't even think I've stopped over at the Charlotte airport. I was supposed to when I left Rod in Fort Lauderdale for our 1000th show, but I ended up rerouting to go to Dallas so I could hang out with my friend Cole in Dallas and do that thing. So first time in Charlotte, and first impressions in North Carolina, the first impressions are outstanding. This is a mix of Florida and back home up in Canada and Saskatchewan. I mean, you have the beautiful countryside and the country lifestyle and a little bit of that. It feels a lot of back home and the small town feel. But then you've got some of the tropical vegetation, and you've got the big city thing. They're almost pushing towards 1 million people in Charlotte. So it's good to be here. I know the golf courses are great down here. I've all world class. I won't get to play, but there's lots of great things happening here in Charlotte. Let's go to the YouTube chat, and we'll say good morning. I know everybody's piling in here this morning. Bo's watching from sunny Saskatoon. I know heat wave going through Canada as well. It's going to be up over 30 degrees, maybe close to 35 degrees on the Celsius scale here in Charlotte. So feeling you. We got some water. We're under the shade. It's awesome. Stephen Jacobson says greetings. No hallucinations from beautiful 62-degree Minot, North Dakota. So while Rod has his head in the clouds, let's have fun. Wayne Grollo is watching and says, good morning, Rod Squad from Victoria. John Ohm, good morning. And Jeff, the Stamps fan, wants to apologize. Okay. Yesterday, Report the Nation's 4th of July contest was canceled. It wasn't. Yeah, that's right. So Rod knocked that one and was okay with it. That's good. Guys, you've activated the audio feedback coming back here, just so you guys know if you want to kill it, you can. Ryan H. says, way to go, Dupe Troop. Dupe Troop, that could be a name. I could get into that. It's going to be a great show. It is. They say happy hump day, Swerve. And yes, Rod is, he might be in the sky right now. Thanks, guys. Good job killing that. So away we go. CFL Week 4 will start next week, but we're here now. And I was going to say, when you asked if Rod had his head in the clouds, I thought it was really cool yesterday when I was flying in. The flight kept getting delayed and delayed and delayed, and so I didn't arrive into the Charlotte airport until after, well, right around midnight, just before midnight, and got to our place just after midnight to the house. But when we were flying, I popped the window open, and the moon was right there. Like, it was huge, and it was right out the window. I thought that was the coolest thing ever. I don't spend enough time looking out the windows on the airplane, but the moon was right there on somewhat of a clear night, so that was awesome. We've got Justin Dunk from 3 Down Nation logged in. He's going to be with us for 2 segments here this morning. JD, how are you, brother?
Doing well, man. What about you down there?
I'm doing well. We're missing you down here. Wish you were here. But it's hot, sunny, and the flag football's going on right now, so we're into the swing of things, man.
Hard to beat it, buddy. Great weather and football going on. I love it.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Looking forward to it, and we're looking forward to Week 5 in the Canadian Football League getting set to kick off. We're going to get to that. We're going to get to, some of the NHL free agency. But I wanted to start with point 1, and I guess, Jordan, if you've got the quick 6 show horn, you might as well hit it. So let's hit it and get to point 1. Vladimir Guerrero Jr., the Jays, he homered in the 8th inning, lifting the Jays past the White Sox to snap a short losing streak. The Jays are rolling now. But the big story, Alek Manoah set to return to the Jays after a stint in the minors. He's scheduled to start Friday, the game at Detroit. The Cy Young finalist, he's 1-7 with a 6.36 ERA. That prompted him to get sent down. The 25-year-old went 5 innings, 10 strikeouts, and allowed just 1 run in an appearance Sunday in Double-A. So Justin, the first thought is Alek Manoah going to step right back into the Jays lineup? I don't know how much you're following the Jays. Is he going to step right back in and be the Cy Young contender, or is this going to take some time and do fans have to be patient with the Alek Manoah return?
Fans need to be patient. I've been following closely, talking with it about it, a bunch of people around Toronto, and I think what happened with Alek Manoah here is that he got a little high on his horse, let's say, and did so well last year, really his first full season in the majors, and as you mentioned, was a Cy Young finalist. And I don't think put in the required work in the offseason. He seemed to me to show up out of shape, and he got beat around early in the season. And I'm wondering if he's going to be a one-hit wonder. That's what sticks out most to me. I know he's gone through this rehab stint in the minors, but it looks bad on the Jays that they even had to send him down here to keep this guy in the majors. So the jury is out for me on Manoah until he actually comes back and shows us.
Well, that's the case, man, with a lot of pro athletes. Like when you get a little taste of success, right, you start to put your feet up a little bit in some cases, right? You got a little more money, you've got a little more, fans want a piece of you, you've got more events to go to. It feels like in tennis, maybe that's what happened with Jeannie Bouchard. You see that all the time, the Anna Kournikova thing. Is that what Manoah's in danger of becoming, right now, being a one-hit wonder? How realistic do you think that is, and what are the chances, you think, of him coming back and playing well?
There's a lot to digest there, but I think, first of all, that's exactly what happened to him. I think he relaxed a little bit and maybe didn't work as hard as he did to get to that level of being a Cy Young finalist, because when you're on the come-up and you're making a name for yourself, you have that hunger. And to me, that's what separates the one-hit wonders from the guys who have long careers, and then obviously the greatest of all time, right? I know you love your tennis. Novak Djokovic is talking about winning his 24th Grand Slam major, and he's hungrier than ever, he says, and he might be in the best shape ever. That dude is just different mentally, and I think that's where Alek Manoah has gone wrong here. He had one good year, thought he could just show up, pitch well, and continue to do so without some of the required work behind the scenes, and taking it a little bit lazy, let's say, or taking the foot off the gas pedal. So I think the chances of him getting back to that level are not as good as some people would think. Just because you've done it before doesn't mean you can do it again until you prove that you can do it again. So I think it's a long shot that he ever gets back to that level until he shows that his mindset has changed.
Yeah, you got to continue to put in the work. I mean, you've got batters and hitters on the other side that are constantly scouting what you're doing. You have to keep evolving, keep playing. I'm curious. I mean, it's nice to see 10 strikeouts in his final tune-up game on Sunday, but that's Double-A. That's not the majors. It'll be curious to see what happens when he hits the mound, and really the lights are on him. But it was a good sign last night when Vladdy hit the home run. I know he hasn't had the best season, but do you see this Jays team, if Manoah can come back and give you a few good starts, can you see this team starting to turn the corner a little bit? It was a tough series, Canada Day, against, Boston in the division, and they've really struggled early, but, what sense are you getting from people in Toronto? Can this team turn the corner?
The key to me is they got to play better against those American League East teams, right? Against all the other teams, they seem to do fairly well. They're well above 500, and the American League East, they've gotten beaten up. So they need some help on the pitching staff, and hopefully, if you're the Jays front office and the coaching staff and the fans, Alek Manoah can provide that. And we talk about, not a great year for Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Well, he's still an all-star, has a bunch of home runs, is among the top RBI guys in the majors. So that's pretty good for kind of a down year, but the sense around Toronto is that they got to compete more in these American League East games that are obviously ultra competitive, but they seem to be fine against everybody else, and then the bats mostly have gone quiet. Like, you look at a guy like Kevin Gausman, who's had a great year, but just hasn't had the run support in some of his starts, especially in those American League East starts. So I think that's what needs to happen, is the pitching has to be more consistent, and Gausman definitely has been the one guy, I think the best guy on the staff so far, and the bats got to be more consistent, especially against the AL East.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, we'll see if the Jays can do that, and Manoah will be on the mound Friday when the Jays take on Detroit. We're here at the Flag Football Championships. Over my shoulder Justin, why didn't you get out here and play? Like, when I look at Team Canada, if you want to look, I don't know if you're following it, but up in Canada, it was that group of Mason Nias and Mitch Hillis and Colton Clausen that just won the Nationals. They're going to compete in this next year in 2024. You guys never put the flag group together? Because in the prairies, those Huskies and Rams, they're playing these flag games all the time.
I like it, but football's a young man's game, even the flag game, man. Like, you got to be quick and fast, and I would say more closer to having played football, which Mason Nias and those guys you listed off are. So we never really talked about that. Honestly, dude, back in my day, touch football was the game. I like where everything has gone with flag football, but there's still something to me about grabbing that flag that seems like it's a little bit lucky. I know you can't spin and all that kind of stuff, and grabbing the flag is an art in itself, but touch was my game back in the day, and there was some national tackle tournaments after my university career. I know Michael Faulds, I think, went over to Europe and helped Canada win a medal. I forget what color it was, but the great Western University quarterback who's a good Guelph boy, went to John F. Ross High School in Guelph. Shout out to the Royals. So it's definitely something that I've thought of, but I'll leave it to the young men like Mason Nias to get out there.
So you're saying you, me, and Matt Young couldn't put a team in and compete at this level?
I think we'd be jacked up to do it. I would have to train you and Matty Young for a little while before we even get on the field.
The toe tapping on the sidelines. I could see it right now. He'd be all over the highlight reel. Awesome. Okay, We're going to get to the poll question. We're going to get to CFL Week 5. We're going to get to little NHL free agency. That's all coming up ahead. The number to call or to text the show, 902-518-3033. RodPedersen.com is the website. We're going to step aside here for a minute. We're going to come back. We're going to get to Week 5 of the Canadian Football League and a little bit more, and we'll get to that poll question as well for Yorkton Kia. We'll do that on the other side of the break. You're watching The Rod Pedersen Show live across the country on the Game Plus television network. You're streaming on YouTube Live, or you're listening to the podcast wherever you get your podcast, including Apple, Stitcher, and Spotify.
Is it time to take your event online? Bring it to IKS Live. We've got a fully customized virtual event platform with remote guest support for your next fundraiser, talk show, conference, performance, and more. IKS Live offers live streaming to Facebook Live and YouTube and pre-recorded capabilities, both in our studio with green screen available and on location with pre-production and post-production services. Visit us at ikslive.ca.
Champion.
Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Lot of sun, smoky in the air, it's a lot of fun. Big time, big time, big time, big time.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Hey, honey, can you get one of the kids to show me how this Twitter thing works? Honey, I need to get on Instagram. Time for more of the Rod Pedersen Show. How about that?
Hey, back in Charlotte, North Carolina, where we welcome you in from the campus, UNC. Darren Dupont in for Rod Pedersen will be back in this big chair tomorrow. He's in the air today. Well, hoping he's in the air today if he can get everything sorted out at the airport. Not saying there's a problem, but we welcome in Justin Dunk, who's with us for one more segment. We'll get into CFL Week 5, and I guess before we look ahead, let's look back one final to the middle of the week, and we'll get to our poll question here for the key group here right away. But when you look back at Week 4, Justin, what were your big takeaways from Week 4 and I guess I don't want to say a shortened week, but a week with less games on the schedule?
A smaller week, only 3 games with 3 teams off on bye. And what I took away from it is the Toronto Argonauts are for real as the defending Grey Cup champions. I'm very curious to see when they face off against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers later in the season. But they intercept Vernon Adams Jr. 6 times. And for as good as big play VA was and made a bunch of big plays in the first 3 weeks, he erased all of that with 6 interceptions and shows that he still can be very up and down. It looked like he was going to be more consistent over those first 3 weeks, but this Week 4 has given me pause with VA in terms of putting him up there with one of the best quarterbacks in the CFL right now. So he's going to come out and have to have something to prove and put that game behind him and show it was an anomaly in 2023.
Everybody wants to put BC ahead of Winnipeg in their power rankings on various sites and platforms just because they beat them head-to-head. That's 2 weeks ago already, right? When I look at power rankings, I look at if the 2 teams played today, who would be favored, right? Who would the betting odds favor? Who would probably win? And if it was BC-Winnipeg today, Justin, who wins that football game, or who should be favored to win that football game?
It's Winnipeg, and I take it one step further. I do it the exact same way as you, Deuce, but I look at it from a neutral field perspective, right? Because if Winnipeg's at home against BC, Winnipeg's going to be favored even though they got beat a couple weeks ago. So neutral field, I still think Winnipeg would be a short favorite because Winnipeg has shown in the past, and this is what factors largely into betting lines, that they can bounce back from a one-game anomaly. Vernon Adams Jr. has shown that he can run hot and cold for multiple games. So that's why Blue Bombers would be favorites if they played today.
The poll question is for Yorkton Kia. Today's poll question is, what is Canada's game of the week? We do it every week on Wednesdays leading into the CFL season. And so your options this week for Canada's game of the week, Week 5 will open Thursday with Edmonton at Saskatchewan. The 0-4 Elks against the 2-1 Riders. On Friday, Calgary's in Winnipeg. The Stamps are 1-2. Winnipeg's 3-1. Saturday, Ottawa, with their 1-2 record, are on the road in Hamilton, who are 0-3. And on Sunday, the week wraps up with BC 3-1 against the 2-1 Montreal Alouettes. So, Justin, to you, what's your game of the week?
Well, we know there's going to be lots of eyeballs on Chris Jones anytime he comes back to Regina and Saskatchewan. It's always easy to go with the Riders in these selections, but I'm going to go to that Lions-Alouettes game because there was a lot of hype around BC, as we talked about over the first 3 weeks, and they beat Winnipeg, and they were undefeated going into Toronto. and not quite the same amount of hype across the country, but in Montreal and Quebec, there was a lot of people feeling good about the Alouettes because they were undefeated before they lost to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in that rain-soaked game at Percival Molson Stadium. So I'm very curious about this game because I want to see who can prove that they can bounce back and are mentally enough there to get back from a deflating loss. Now, I think the Alouettes should still feel pretty good about themselves because they hung with the Blue Bombers for a while, and it was really just the offense that couldn't generate enough big plays and score touchdowns to be in that game with Winnipeg. So I like the Alouettes in that ball game, but I'm really curious to see who bounces back. Vernon Adams Jr., Cody Fajardo, and the rest on the team.
It's going to be fun, and it's the only game this week that features two teams with a winning record. Right, so that'll be fun to watch. Those two teams go head to head. The other one I'm interested in is Ottawa-Hamilton. Right, where is Hamilton at? 0-3, but Ottawa gets Jeremiah Masoli back this week. We know about Alec Manoah coming back from struggling a little bit. Well, Masoli's been out for a year, still dealing with those leg injuries and complications from surgery. So, what should the expectations for Red Blacks fans be around Jeremiah Masoli?
I think they should give him a few weeks to work into this. We got to remember, it's 1 year, actually, almost to the day that he was hit by Garrett Marino, where he sustained a broken femur. I don't think enough people know that. Like, this was a serious injury. He had multiple setbacks that he's had to work back from. So, credit Sean Burke, the general manager there, and Bob Dice, the head coach, for giving Masoli the required time to get back to 100%. And now it's all mental. He needs to regain the confidence to where he can take a shot and get back up and know that nothing in his body is going to break or be injured. So I think that is very critical here. And as for Masoli, in terms of this outing, it's actually the first time he returns to Hamilton as a player since he left to sign with the Red Blacks in free agency after spending almost a decade with the Tiger Cats. But I think you can expect a solid, if unspectacular, outing. Now, that said, Masoli did start the season with a bang last year in Winnipeg when not a lot of people expected that, and he has had a decent amount of practice time with this receiving core. He knows Jalen Acklin really well, and the Red Blacks, I think, can protect well. They got a solid to great offensive line. I think they can have the capability to play great there. So I would expect solid, but I think there's some upside there as well.
I'm really looking forward to it too, because this league is better when more elite quarterbacks are on the field. Jeremiah Masoli, I think, can still be an elite quarterback in the Canadian Football League. He's not that old. He's been in the league for 10 years. He's had some experience. So I think, the league is better if he's better, right?
It definitely is, and we need to see that across the CFL. Better quarterback play means more points, means more excitement, means more viewers, means more money.
So to the Edmonton-Saskatchewan game that's going to open the week tomorrow, I see the Riders' injury report coming out of the bye week, and it's longer than going into the bye week. Brett Lauther's now on the injury report. Jorgen Hughes we knew was on it, but that was illness. Trevor Harris is on there dealing with the back. Where do you see the Riders? I know they're 2-1, but where do you see them coming out of this bye week? And, there's so much intrigue in this game because of the Elk factor and Chris Jones on the other side. But starting with the Riders, where are they at coming out of the bye week in terms of, not just the health of this group, but where they are at as a competitive team?
I see the Riders as a team with their arrow pointing up. That one loss was an 18-point home beatdown to Winnipeg, but Trevor Harris threw for over 400 yards in that game, didn't turn the football over, had 3 touchdowns through the air, and it looks like Sean Bain Jr. is an emerging dynamic threat at receiver to go along with some of the other targets he has in that receiving core. The offensive line still think needs to play better. They're going to want to get Gerald Hawkins back, and I'm sure that would help Trevor Harris in terms of the protection. It seems like he really likes Hawkins on that left side. Jamal Morrow is one of the best running backs in the league right now, if not the best. I mean, he topped the rushing chart entering that bye week. And then the defense, I don't think necessarily has even played its best football yet. And I think Pete Robertson can go back to finding that form where he got off to such a great start last season before kind of getting plagued by injuries through the rest of the year that slowed him down. I think there's some intriguing pieces on that defense. You got Larry Dean and Derek Moncrief playing at high levels. Some younger players in the secondary, but also Nick Marshall there, and obviously want to see Brett Lauther get healthy. So I like where this team is headed. I like the character of this team with Trevor Harris at quarterback, his mentality, the way that he's leading this team through at least the first 3 weeks of the season.
Feels like there's a lot more positivity and optimism around the Riders, and that's that's a good thing. Not so much for Edmonton and the Elks and Chris Jones, and I almost hate that we got to talk about this every week, that another loss piles up for Edmonton, but we do, and the questions keep coming into the show. They keep being asked of me and Rod, and even Rod brought it up on the show, you know, can Chris Jones survive another loss? And we're going to ask the question this week, and if he serves another week and another week. So how do we put this to bed, or where do we put this? Or is this just going to simply be something that is going to get discussed every single week?
I think fans will discuss it every week, but what the uninitiated should know is that if you fire Chris Jones, who are you going to make as the interim head coach? Everybody on that staff is close to Chris Jones, and you're alluding to it there, the money factor of it. So the Elks can get out from this contract because Chris Jones signed his deal as 4 essentially one-year team option. So they can get out of this deal after the season, but you're stuck with Chris Jones for this year, like it or not. Now, I do think there are some positive signs with this team. The special teams have been solid. The defense does look very intriguing, but the offense simply has to move the football. What I can't understand here with the Elks is you bench Taylor Cornelius, you put in Jared, don't teach me how to Daggy, because he hasn't shown us anything flashy yet, especially in that first career start. And you don't go with Trey Ford, and now you're going back to Taylor Cornelius. Like, let a quarterback have a little bit of runway here. And I was one of the guys calling for Cornelius to be sat down and someone else to be put in there. And I thought it should have been Trey Ford. He showed some flashes last year. He showed he could at least win a football game on the road in Hamilton in his first career start. And we haven't seen Cornelius do that this year, and the same with Daggy. So I think they should be going with Ford, but they got to get settled here at quarterback and find a rhythm quickly on offense.
Yeah, and why do you think that is? I was thinking the same thing. I thought, okay, if Cornelius struggles a little bit, they'll go turn right to Trey Ford and give him a chance with this team. I thought he looked pretty good until the injury last season. So why? Is it just a case of, you know, liking the other guys better? Or is there a level of trust that's not quite there yet?
It could be a bit of both, but I think there was a level of trust with Trey Ford last year to run him out there in his rookie year as a first-round draft pick. Like, Chris Jones invested a lot of draft capital to get this kid on his roster. He's one of the best athletes in the CFL, bar none. I don't care what your passport is, Canadian, American, global, alien, or otherwise. This dude is a freak athlete, so you want him on the field. I think what happened here is they were really intrigued by Jarrett Daggy in that game where Cornelius got benched and Ford wasn't on the roster, right? Because they had, at the time, Kai Loxley running the short yardage packages, and now he's, as we've reported at 3downnation.com, signed with the Hamilton Tiger Cats, Loxley that is. So I think that's part of the reason they went with Daggy. He looked intriguing, and they thought, hey, let's give this kid a start after he looked good coming in off the bench, and Ford just hasn't gotten into the mix. Now, Ford will be active this week, and I think that could pave the way for potential playing time for him. And he's the guy I think that brings the most potential spark to this team because he can make those off-schedule plays, let's say, outside the pocket. Imagine Geno Lewis, Stephen Dunbar Jr., Dylan Mitchell running free with extra time down the field or finding holes in the zones with Trey Ford on the run. Like, that to me is a scary proposition because Taylor Cornelius has not shown that ability to be dynamic at all this season, and Jared Daggy has a little bit in flash.
So you talked about Kai Loxley, and that's the last thing I want to ask you here, and then I've got one viewer question before we let you go. The Hamilton quarterback situation, what is it? What does it look like heading into Week 5, and even looking ahead to Week 6, 7, 8? Where is that Hamilton quarterback situation?
Well, for right now, Levi Mitchell is still on the 6-game injured list. There were some people around the league who thought maybe he could come back after the bye. There were other people that felt like this injury could actually last a little longer. So based off what they've done in practice early this week leading into this game against Ottawa, it seems like it's going to be Matthew Schultz again. Matthew Schultz played really well, especially to start the game in his last time out before the bye. But he's got to convert these field goal opportunities into touchdowns when he's driving the team deep in the end zone, hitting Tim White on some deep balls, and developing a rapport with Duke Williams. So I think there's something there with Schultz. There were a couple other teams that were interested in him if he would have hit the open market in free agency, but the Ticats smartly re-signed him. And the Tiger Cats bring in Kyle Loxley to be their short yardage guy who has experience also as a quarterback in this league. So if Bo Le'Veon Mitchell isn't coming back anytime soon, or even isn't coming back this week, Loxley could go in a pinch if Schultz got hurt.
Okay, and Craig Campbell writes in on YouTube on the chat, and I don't know if you've been paying attention to this or not. I'm not expecting you to, but he says, Justin, what prospects should we watch for at the upcoming U18 Canada Cup Football Championship in Edmonton? I don't know if you're watching the young kids, but I know, right? I knew it would be a curve, but I want to transition that into, the next stage of football and where you see football in this country, not only at the young level, but that to youth sports. And, you mentioned Trey Ford developing more prospects for the pros. Where's football at in this country right now in your mind?
Yeah, I'll answer that question real quickly. If you want to find out some of the best prospects going into that competition, go to CanadaFootballChat.com. They do a great job of tracking players through high school and guys who are going to the NCAA. But overall, football as a whole in this country could not have more talent coming through the pipeline. That is Canadians leaving for prep schools early in the United States and going to get scholarships in the NCAA. That includes players who stay in Canada for high school and get scholarships coming out of Canadian institutions, or I should say Canadian high schools or prep schools, and going south. That includes players going from Canadian university or Canadian high schools to Canadian universities. So it is at an all-time high, I think, in terms of how many kids are developing into excellent young football players in this country. And you're at the flag football championships there for the USA, and I think flag football is a thing that has really helped develop a skill set and better ball skills. And we're seeing more and more of it across the country. Jim Mullen with Football Canada has done a great job getting out there and having the Football Canada logo on flags across the country. I'll give you an example. My nephews, Liam and Elliot, I'm coaching them in a local Under Armour Under the Lights league. And the flags that they have, my man, have the Football Canada logo on them. It doesn't have NFL. It doesn't have CFL. It has Football Canada. So I really like what Jim Mullen has done in terms of being proactive and being out there, right? That's the key thing, is getting out there and in front of these kids and showing them, hey, this game can be really fun. And I can see with my nephews, they've taken to it. Now, I told them, just because Uncle Justin played quarterback at university doesn't mean that you got to go and play football. But they're really having a blast. A couple of their buddies are out there, and you can see a lot of these other kids taking to it. And the way that it's being run in this country, I think, is better and just a more sort of politely Canadian, boastful way that Jim Mullen is going about it with Football Canada.
I love it. Great plug. And it's good to see, because the NFL flag football program is incredible. They do awesome things. But in this country, it'd be good to see more Canadian flag football, Canadian branding. Good stuff. Okay, man. We'll check in with you real soon, okay, when I get back next week. And thanks for jumping in here for a couple segments.
You bet, buddy. Make sure you put on some sunscreen down there. Don't catch your red lobster burn, okay?
How about that?
I know. Good reminder. I will do that. Justin Dunk is from 3downnation.com with us here this afternoon on the program. DaShaun Amos and the CFLPA Players Spotlight is on the way next. It's the Rod Pedersen Show. Rod back in the chair tomorrow. You're watching across Canada on the Game Plus television network and throughout the United States, streaming on YouTube Live and listening on the podcast on demand on Apple, Spotify, and Stitcher.
Nestled in the scenic Qu'Appelle Valley, just 20 minutes northwest of Regina, is one of the finest golf courses in all of Saskatchewan, the Deer Valley Golf Club. The clubhouse has a full-service restaurant, and customers can enjoy a casual dining experience with spectacular views of the golf course and valley. A fully stocked golf shop, staffed by PGA of Canada professionals, is equipped to meet all of your golf apparel and equipment needs. Book your tee time, family event, or corporate tournament today at the Deer Valley Golf Club. Call 306-731-1445.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Is it time to take your event online? Bring it to IKS Live. We've got a fully customized virtual event platform with remote guest support for your next fundraiser, talk show, conference, performance, and more. IKS Live offers live streaming to Facebook Live and YouTube and pre-recorded capabilities, both in our studio with green screen available and on location with pre-production and post-production services. Visit us at ikslive.ca.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Send us your opinions now. We won't victimize you unless you really deserve it. Now, back to your host, Rod Pedersen.
Darren DuPont here from Charlotte, North Carolina, the IFAF World Continental Flag Football Championships, the One Flag Championship. It's all going on. Over 100 teams here over this field, the big grandstands on the other side, and we're going to have some play-by-play calls throughout the whole thing. You're going to watch on the, I believe, the Olympic Channel throughout the United States. You can stream on the IFAF website across Canada and home team as well. We're going to have DaShaun Amos in here momentarily for the CFLPA Player Spotlight. He's just logging in. When he does, we'll get him in here. But as we continue through, Justin Dunk was with us last segment, teeing us up for Week 5 in the Canadian Football League. I wanted to get to point 3 in the Quick Six show topics. The Gold Cup, Canada's men's soccer team got the offense going on Tuesday, a 4-2 win over Cuba after a disappointing opening draw. That sets up Canada and the USA on Sunday in the quarterfinals. It's in Cincinnati, and a spot in the semifinals on the line. So John Herdman's got the boys going now with the offense against Cuba. They were going to miss anyways, and their 2 goals came on penalties. So good effort from the Canadians. They rolled in that one, but a big test on Sunday against the Americans. Big day at Wimbledon, and we're going to spend any free moment we have on Wimbledon. I'm really excited for today. I've been down here, so I haven't had a chance to go back and watch. But Denis Shapovalov finally got back on the court. He's on the court right now. He had an extra day off because of the rain. So 2 days ago, he loses the opener to Albot 7-5, and it was tied 2-2 in the second set before the break. And I think that break was exactly what he needed, because he came back, won the second set this morning, 6-4. And in the third set right now, Shapovalov is up a break, leading 3-1. Actually, he's up a couple of break points, serving now up 3-1, but he trails 40-30 in that game at the moment. Milos Raonic is on to the second round of Wimbledon. He is returning to Wimbledon after a 2-year absence. Lost the first set to Novak 7-6 in a tiebreaker, and then won 6-4, 7-6, 6-1. So good stuff from the 2 Canadians on the men's side. Women's side, more Canadians are on the action as well. This is great. The 28-year-old Zhao is in the second set. She won the first set 6-1. They are tied at 4, and she's on serve right now, 30-30, 4-4 in the second set. Other matches coming up later on today. Bianca Andreescu's on the court for her first-round match, and Rebecca Moreno for her first-round match on the court later on this afternoon, scheduled right now, not before 3 o'clock Eastern. Leila Annie Fernandez is on to the second round. She's going to get an extra day off because of the rain. So there's that. That's really big in Wimbledon right now, was the weather. But they're off and rolling. Carlos Alcaraz, Novak Djokovic, the top 2 seeds in the event, are both moving on. Let's go to the YouTube chat and see what's going on. Wayne Grollo, yeah, he asked about the announcement. The announcement was this, that Rod and I would be calling the International World Flag Football Championships. So excited about that. They've got a good chat going on right now, talking CFL football. Yeah, and Pat Janix in Saskatoon says, me and Dunk didn't talk about Milos' big win on the tennis court this morning in England. Jug, you got to remember something. We're going to break here right away and have a little extra time for our chat with DaShaun Amos on the other side of the break. But I was so excited to wake up yesterday to watch Milos Raonic play. I mean, he was number 3 in the world at one point. I mean, my tennis growing up, I mean, you can go back to Daniel Nestor, but when I really started getting into tennis, it was Milos Raonic. And it was Federer, and it was Nadal, and then Djokovic, but it was Raonic. And I was excited to watch him play, and then the rain happens. I had my coffee, I was up at 7, I'm ready to roll, and it's delayed. And so today he's on the court, and I'm traveling, and I'm here. So hopefully I can find a place to watch it on the replay, and if not, it's good to know that Milos is on to the second round. Okay, we're going to break early. We'll see if we can get our CFLPA Player Spotlight segment on the other side of the break. You're watching the RP Show. It's on Game Plus TV all across Canada and into the United States, YouTube Live, and watch or listening on demand on the podcast platforms, including Apple and Spotify.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Is it time to take your event online? Bring it to IKS Live. We've got a fully customized virtual event platform with remote guest support for your next fundraiser, talk show, conference, performance, and more. IKS Live offers live streaming to Facebook Live and YouTube and pre-recorded capabilities, both in our studio with green screen available and on location with pre-production and post-production services. Visit us at ikslive.ca.
Smoky in the air, that's a lot of pine. Big time, big time, big time, big time.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Did you know you can catch all the best moments from the show on all our social media platforms? Now, back to the studio with Rod.
Okay, back inside the tent here in Charlotte, North Carolina. This is really cool to be on the campus of USC. A couple things I'm looking forward to this week as I get a chance to just look around and take in the surroundings. I've been facing the other way for so long. I don't know how much you guys can hear what's going on behind me, but it is cool. And we're going to get a lot into the viewer takeover here in this segment. Looks like our CFLPA segment may get pushed. They're having a little trouble logging in right now, but really excited to get DaShaun Amos into the program, so hopefully we can make that happen. Taking a look inside the comments, Jeff the Stamps fan says, Wimbledon, is that on again this year? Yeah, it is, and it's awesome, and I love it, okay? So back off, all right? No, it is great. I love Wimbledon. Pretty awesome. So looking forward to that. Randy from the Peg, another win for Milos. Yes.
How about that?
I got into tennis, John Ohm says, before Dupes was even born, watching John McEnroe at Wimbledon 1981. So Jeff the Stamps fan asks, who is the John McEnroe of the CFL? It's a great question. I got to think about that for a second, because I didn't grow up watching John McEnroe, okay? So you got to remember a couple things about sports. I think this is incredibly interesting, and we've got some time here to think about this. But when I think of John McEnroe, be honest, he's a tennis commentator. He works for ESPN. He's an announcer for me. He's not a tennis player, right? Even though I know he's a tennis player and I know he's a good tennis player, it's that. I mean, everybody talks about John McEnroe too, and the fiery personality, you know, the flamboyant, arguments with officials on the court, that kind of thing. The I guess the rants would be fitting for this show, right? So John McEnroe for me is that. A lot of people will say that, Randy Moss or Steve Young or, Terry Bradshaw for me is a guy that sits on the morning show on Fox, the pregame show on Fox on Sundays. He's not a quarterback who won multiple Super Bowls, because I never saw any of that. Tom Brady, when he goes in the booth for me, will always be Tom Brady, the football player who became a broadcaster, right? So these guys really get to have two different careers, which I think is really cool, and you get known for different things. So I think so when they ask who's the John McEnroe of the CFL, Travis, I think he's in Winnipeg, says Stiegel. Milt Stiegel could be one. Yeah. What about today's game? Who is it? Bo? He's not really the guy who gets loud on the field and talks to officials and, really flamboyant, really out there personality on the field. I don't know who would be the John McEnroe of the Canadian football game. Maybe that's the problem, that we don't have that guy. I think of the NFL, well, I'd be careful about painting Antonio Brown with that brush, but he was becoming that, not on the field with referees, but, with his antics on the sidelines and then in public. I don't know that John McEnroe really was a train wreck in public, at least not that I can remember. But it's a great question. Who is the John McEnroe of the Canadian Football League? But while we do that, speaking of the Canadian Football League, let's update the poll questions. And Clark, do we have any results on YouTube on the poll question? Canada's game of the week. Your choices. Yes. Thursday, Edmonton at Sask. Friday, Calgary and Winnipeg. Saturday, Ottawa at Hamilton. And Sunday, BC's home to Montreal. I'm going to guess that it's Edmonton, Saskatchewan in a landslide on the poll.
37% Edmonton, Saskatchewan. Calgary, Winnipeg's 33.
Calgary, Winnipeg's 33. Okay, so that's close. BC Montreal was Justin Dunk's pick for game of the week. And I want to go through these quickly as I go to Bet Regal. Saskatchewan favored by 7 points over the Edmonton Elks in Thursday's game right now. So there you go. The over-under is 43. On Friday, Winnipeg Blue Bombers are favored by 8 over Calgary. By 8. Now they're at home, but that should concern Stamps fans. The over-under in that one, 46.5. Hamilton home to Ottawa. Hamilton slight favorites in Jeremiah Masoli's return, 2.5-point favorites. I like Ottawa on the road. If you're going to give me 2.5 points, I like Ottawa on the road in that one. I really do. So we'll see. Over-under is 44 points. And BC home to Montreal. This is shocking, too, with Montreal. I mean, they're coming off a loss against Winnipeg. BC's coming off a loss to Toronto. BC's at home. BC's favored by 7.5 points. I'm not sure what's up with these spreads. Nobody's betting on Montreal. I would take Montreal in a heartbeat if you're going to give me 7.5 points on the Owls and Cody Fajardo. Not that I don't think BC's the better team or deserves to be favored in the game, but by 7.5 points? I'm not so sure. Over-under in that game is 45 points. Interesting. If the Stamps beat Winnipeg, Jeff says, the West is wide open except for the Elks. Yeah, but what does Rod say? If my aunt had nuts, she'd be my uncle, right? I mean, if the Stamps beat Winnipeg, it's an 8-point spread. Final minute of play in hour 1. We'll tell you coming up in hour 2, Nick Alberga, as we'll go mostly hockey. This will make it really neat and tidy for Jordan and Clark to name the podcasts, as it was mostly CFL football in hour 1, including a real nice preview into week 5 with Justin Dunk. Hour 2, we're going to get into NHL free agency, and we're really going to talk about that. Nick Alberga will be alongside. And then we've got a really nice interview coming up in overtime about a really great foundation doing good work in Stars Air Ambulance. You're going to want to stick around for that. Get your text messages loaded up. 902-518-3033. We're going to empty them all in the next segment at the start of hour 2, okay? So we'll do that coming up then. And the poll question, Canada's Game of the Week, still live at rodpeterson.com. Back with hour 2 on Game Plus, YouTube Live, and on the podcast, it's the next episode.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Is it time to take your event online? Bring it to IKS Live. We've got a fully customized virtual event platform with remote guest support for your next fundraiser, talk show, conference, performance, and more. IKS Live offers live streaming to Facebook Live and YouTube and pre-recorded capabilities, both in our studio with green screen available and on location with pre-production and post-production services. Visit us at ikslive.ca.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
The prizes are a draw, but the cause, that's the clincher.
This is why they can count on me.
Inbound receiving hospital.
Prizes and a cause I can't say no to.
Stars Lottery, the lottery on a mission. Every ticket is your chance to win more than $3.6 million in prizes, including cash, homes, vehicles, and vacations. Buy your tickets today at starslottery.ca or 1-844-STARS-SK.
And marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Right now, Darren.
You know, Andre DuPont, the old Philadelphia Flyer tough guy, was nicknamed Moose.
And you being a tough guy.
Right. But in hockey, when I was younger, another player came across the middle and made the most devastating check I've ever made in my life. Take off the helmet, and it's a girl. And so the coach slapped her. Attaboy, Moose. Just like the Moose. And I'm like, I have no idea who that is, right?
The one sports show where roughing is encouraged.
Good afternoon, sports fans. Yes, that did happen. And it was a girl. And I felt horrible. Still feel horrible. I'm really good friends with her sister now. Yeah, I'll always remember that. But welcome in. The RP Show's on the air. This is the Wednesday podcast, Hour 2, and the Wednesday show across the Game Plus television network, YouTube Live. We say hello to everybody watching in the chat on YouTube, everybody in the texting community, 902-518-3033. The number to text the show as we welcome you into the podcast, wherever you're listening from and wherever you're watching live across the coast and across North America on Game Plus TV. We are coming to you from the flag football mecca this week. This is the University of North Carolina. We're in Charlotte, North Carolina this week for the Flag Football World Championships and the One Flag Championships, the American Championships. We're going to be doing play-by-play duties, Rod and I, throughout the week, so that's going to be a lot of fun. They've invited us down here, USA Football, so that's really exciting, and excited to get to work. I've actually got my first game to call at 2:30 Eastern, so I'm going to jump off the air, crush a power bar, maybe find a coffee and some water and get right to the chair on the other side to call some flag football. Really fun, really fast, really entertaining. And the Canadian teams are doing quite well early on. And I know some of the players on the team. I know some of the players, Mason Nias, Colton Clausen, Mitch Hillis, and others from the U of S that are going to be in this event next year. Congratulations to those guys on winning nationals just about a week ago. So really, really good stuff. Nick Alberga will be alongside here in hour 2. Big thanks to Justin Dunk for joining us in hour 1. Nick Alberga is the host of Leafs Morning Take on the Nation Network. He'll be along with an assessment on Brad Treliving's first 5 days of NHL free agency. So we're going to do that, and then we'll have the CFL PA player spotlight coming up here in just a couple of moments. Yeah, we're going to get to him in a minute. To the text line, 902-518-3033. Bill Dalby's watching in Brantford, Ontario, and wants to talk about the Nashville Predators. They said they moved DaShaun, then sign Ryan O'Reilly. Aren't they basically the same type of player? Wouldn't they be better keeping both, Moose? That's Bill from Brantford, Ontario. I think the difference is O'Reilly's won a cup. I think he's a little more gritty, has a little bit more leadership. DaShaun right now is having some issues sticking around with teams from Colorado, Ottawa, and Nashville. There's no questioning DaShaun's offensive abilities, but he hasn't been a 100-point player, and I'm not saying O'Reilly has been, but he has been a very good player. So interesting to see what they do there, but sometimes it's just a preference on who you like, who you don't like, who you're moving in, who you're not moving in. DaShaun out. And this is also, you got to remember, Barry Trotz didn't bring Matt DaShaun into Nashville, right? So Barry Trotz now in control of the Predators. Be interesting to see what else he decides to do, but very, very good in free agency. And, of course, again, next segment we'll talk to Nick Alberga about that and the rest of free agency. But we've got DaShaun Amos in of the Toronto Argonauts for our CFLPA player spotlight. DaShaun, we got you logged in and connected. We got the same CFLPA shirt. I got it back home in the closet. So I love it. How you feeling, man? You got to be feeling pretty good. The Argos still undefeated.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to be feeling bad right now. Just the team's winning, everything's going good, so not much to complain about.
How about you? How's life for you? With Toronto and in Toronto, and right now in the season coming off another win.
Everything's great, man. As a lot of people know, I came out last year on a 1-year deal. Just trying to find a new home, and I think I found that. The team's great, the organization's great, and like I said, right now, it's everything that we asked for. The work that we put in the off season is paying off, and we know that it's a long journey. It's a long 18 games to kind of put ourselves where we want to be come postseason, but. Like I said, right now it's not much to complain about.
Yeah, I want to, when you got to Toronto, I want to talk about your start to Toronto. What was that like, your introduction to the Argos and that group right now? Because it feels like this is a team that's on the rise right now, and a lot of good things are happening inside that organization.
It was great. It was a smooth transition for me just because, we have a lot of staff members from our former team. So the transition was smooth. A lot of teammates that I had last year and this year I was familiar with. So it wasn't that rough of a time. But my main thing coming in was just I didn't want to come in and seem entitled or anything like that. I wanted to earn my position and earn my spot here. Earn the respect of the guys here because at the end of the day, I was coming from a different team. And they were already building a culture here. And I was just an addition to that. So I didn't want guys to think that, just because I knew the staff before coming here and things and such that I was walking into a position. So I really just did what I always do, just put my head down and work, earn the respect of the guys in the locker room, and just learn how to work with the guys and fit in and be a piece to add to, last year was a Grey Cup team and then just looking to repeat this year.
If you don't follow DaShaun, you follow him now on Instagram. Popping off on Instagram. But I love the Grey Cup photos, man. that's something that everybody dreams about, and you got to experience that in Saskatchewan, which is a pretty cool place to do it. What was so special about that group, and how much of that do you still have right now? Because it seems like you're only building from last November.
Oh man, last year's group was amazing. We went through some things. We went through some, adversity. Of course, every team does. But the way we handled it, I think, is what made us so special. It brought us so close together as brothers and as a family. So, when you seen the Toronto Argos, the 2022 Toronto Argos out on the field last year, you didn't just see a football team, right? You seen a family, you seen a bunch of guys that went through things together and gelled together and, just was playing for one another, really. And it was more for the love that we had for each other than it was for the game. And as you can see, like I said, guys filling in whenever we had guys fall down. We had guys fill in, and we didn't miss a beat. So it was a special group we had last year, and I would say that the entire year last year, guys didn't really, or outsiders didn't really think that we were gonna go as far as we did. But I just felt like every week, our mentality was 1-0. It's still that this year. It's on the rings, but every week we just had a new challenge, and we just went out there and said, look, this week we're gonna prove them wrong again. This week we're gonna prove them wrong again. Until the last game, we went to that as underdogs, and a lot of people didn't think that we were gonna get the job done. But like I said, man, that love for one another and just that brotherhood really brought us through and got us the ring.
I want to talk about that last week. Tell me about that, because you're part of this defense, and you guys completely neutralized the BC Lions. I know, they were able to compete early in that football game, but you guys really took, the more that game went on, you guys took over and really established how good your defense can be. What was so special about that game and allowed you to be so successful against one of the CFL's best?
It was almost that same kind of theme, right? Everybody's talking about how good BC's defense is, how good their offense is, the receiving core. And don't get me wrong, they're a great team. But it was just a challenge for us. It's like, hey, we've been, put at 3 and whatever other number as the defending champs. And we don't hang our hat on what we did last year. We know this is a completely different year. But just coming into this year, we kind of felt a little bit disrespected in a sense. And like you said, we have a great defense here in Toronto. And, the other day was just a great opportunity to show that to the rest of the league. And like you said, they were in the game early. They were doing some things that was giving them success and kind of giving us a little bit of trouble. And, we just settled in after a certain point. We settled in and we just said, look, man, we got to be better at communicating. We got to be better at executing our job. And we knew that once we do that we were a great defense and we were going to make plays. And that's like what we did. And shout out to Rob Daniel, of course, because my man had an amazing game. 3 interceptions, went to the crib, and he had a few tackles as well. But 6 interceptions is hard to get that. It's not every day that you get that. I think we have 4 sacks, and then to put a touchdown on the board as well. It's just a crazy performance by the defense, and it's just scary because it's like if you really look at the film, that wasn't even our best game. We gave up things that was, I would say, basic things, and it's just we had brain farts out there. So it was good, but it's also I think the best thing out of it is letting us know that we haven't even really reached our highest potential if we really want to be a great defense. So it was a great test. Like I said, it's early in the season. We're 3-0, but honestly, we really haven't done much. If you ask the team and the guys in the locker room, so we'll look at the things this bye week and fix what we need to fix, and just go 1-0 again when we get back. So still climbing. Just make sure we continue to climb from now until November.
It's a CFLPA player spotlight with DaShaun Amos of the Toronto Argonauts. DaShaun, what makes you want to be the CFLPA player rep for the Argos, and how important is that to you to give back to the players and be their voice in the room?
Oh man, honestly, I didn't think that the guys were going to vote me, but I guess it kind of was a reflection of how they feel about me. So I take it as a compliment, and I take that very seriously. That job on my shoulders, and me and Flo, along with our alternate Royce Mechie, just a bunch of guys that I feel like we work well with others. And so, kind of getting the behind the scenes that the guys don't really get to hear the details about, being able to relate that to other guys is, it's just something that not a lot of people know about, as far as being a professional athlete. So I just feel like I can help us out off the field with being a PA rep.
To hear it. Now, you went to East Carolina University. We're down here in the heat in Charlotte at UNC. It's the Flag Football World Championships going on, so we're going to be calling some play-by-play on the TV broadcast and the webcast. But what do I need to know? I know East Carolina here, what's it, like 3.5, 4 hours between the two. So what do I need to know about the area? Where do I got to go? What do I need to check out?
If you were in Greenville, I would tell you to go to Sup Dogs. I think there's one in Chapel Hill. I think there is a Sup Dogs in Chapel Hill, but definitely go there. Get you some burgers, some tots, a few hot dogs. Raleigh isn't too far, but I would tell you to stop by and see my coach, Ruffin McNeil. He'll have a lot of good football knowledge for you. He's a lot of the reason why I'm here today. I would say get some barbecue while you're there. I think I've had some of the best brisket I've ever had in North Carolina. And yeah, just enjoy the weather, enjoy the people.
Nice. Good call. The barbecue. I will definitely check that out, and we'll look for it as well, man. I appreciate the time. Continued success with the Argos this season, and appreciate you joining us today, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
DaShaun Amos, the Toronto Argonauts, and the CFLPA player rep for the Argos as well, for our CFLPA player spotlight, joining us here today. Love hearing that. And yeah, we got some spots. Hope you wrote those down, Clark. I'm going to have to go back and write those down, see if we can find some spots here in Chapel Hill and around UNC and in Charlotte. But big thanks to DaShaun Amos for joining us. We're going to flip gears to NHL free agency next. Before we do, and while we stick on football for a second, let's update that poll question, Canada's Game of the Week. You can vote now here on YouTube. You can vote at rodpeterson.com. Your choices are Edmonton at Sask Thursday. And while we do that, we'll update the betting lines for you. Sask favored by 7. Friday, Calgary at Winnipeg. The Bombers favored by 8. I think that's the biggest spread of the week. Saturday, Hamilton home to Ottawa. The Tiger Cats, winless Tiger Cats, I might add, favored by 2.5 over Ottawa, who are getting Jeremiah Masoli back. And on Sunday, the Montreal Alouettes are on the road against BC, and it's the Lions favored by 7.5 points. Your poll questions for Key Yorkton Kia here today and all week long. Clark, do we have an update on that poll? Still Riders Elks leading the way?
Yeah, it's actually tied now. Edmonton, Sask, Calgary, Winnipeg, dead even.
So Calgary, Winnipeg, Edmonton, Sask, those two games are dead even. Vote now at YouTube and vote at rodpeterson.com for more. Taking a look inside the text line at 902-518-3033. We'll answer some more of your questions coming back on the other side of the break. We'll do that. John Ohms, writing on YouTube, says, Dupes, you need to visit Pinky's West Side Grill. Okay. I am definitely open to more food suggestions here. I know I haven't even looked to see if or where the Golden Corral is, but I know Rod will want to go there when he gets into town. So potentially we will need to do that. Craig Campbell, still watching, says the Argos are the best team in Toronto since 1982. That's a big statement. Like, we're talking bigger and better than the Doug Flutie Toronto Argonauts, or the Damon Allen Toronto Argonauts, or the Ricky Ray Toronto Argonauts, or the Chad Kelly Toronto Argonauts bigger than those teams? The best? That's a big statement. I'm going to need some clarification, Craig. Because you've been around. I haven't. You've been at the game. I haven't, right? This team is very good, especially when you look at, Winnipeg, who we haven't seen that yet. But BC we have. This is a really good Toronto Argonauts team. And we saw Winnipeg in the playoffs, and Toronto beat them. And this team appears to be better. So there's that. Okay, we'll take a break. Nick Alberga from the Nation Network's on the other side, getting to NHL free agency, answer all your questions and more, and a deep dive on what Toronto's done in free agency. That will be interesting. I'm curious for Nick's grade on Brad Treliving. I've got thoughts. It's the Rod Pedersen Show here on a hot and muggy Wednesday in Charlotte, North Carolina. You're watching on Game Plus TV, streaming on YouTube, or you're on the podcast, including Apple and Spotify.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Hey Rod Squad, now you can join the team with your very own RP Show gear. Head to rodpetersenshop.com and get yours today while supplies last. It's just like we wear on the show, official RP Show gear at rodpetersenshop.com. In the scenic Qu'Appelle Valley, just 20 minutes northwest of Regina, is one of the finest golf courses in all of Saskatchewan, the Deer Valley Golf Club. The clubhouse has a full-service restaurant, and customers can enjoy a casual dining experience with spectacular views of the golf course and valley. A fully stocked golf shop, staffed by PGA of Canada professionals, is equipped to meet all of your golf apparel and equipment needs. Book your tee time, family event, or corporate tournament today at the Deer Valley Golf Club. Call 306-731-1445.
Lake Center, you can mark us airborne off the scene. ETA 2 minutes.
The prizes are a draw, but the cause, that's the clincher.
This is why they can count on me.
Inbound receiving hospital.
Prizes and a cause I can't say no to.
Stars Lottery, the lottery on a mission. Every ticket is your chance to win more than $3.6 million in prizes, including cash, homes, vehicles, and vacations. Buy your tickets today at starslottery.ca or 1-844-STARS-SK.
Lot of sun, smoky in the air, that's a lot of pine. Big time, big time, big time, big time.
Looking to buy a pre-owned vehicle? With the largest selection of quality pre-owned vehicles in the Parkland, you're sure to find it at Key Auto Group. We'll treat you right every time, and it's all just a click away at keyautogroup.ca.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Laid back and kicking it, let's head back to the studio. Here's Rod.
Welcome back to the Rod Pedersen Show. I'm Darren DuPont, joining you for the day, Wednesday, on your podcast or streaming on YouTube. But we're watching live across North America on Game Plus TV. And we welcome in Nick Alberga. He is the host of Leafs Morning Take on the Nation Network. Nick, how are you, my man? Before we get you in, right out of the gate, give me your assessment of Brad Treliving 5 days into free agency. What grade would you give the Leafs general manager?
Well, firstly, great to be with you on this Wednesday. I would probably say, I don't know, a B- right now, more because we don't know and there's no clarity on Austin Matthews and Willie Nylander. Like, I think it's such a tough job. Having said that, I think Tree Living and company deserve a lot of credit for going about their business, despite the fact that they have two huge situations in Austin Matthews and Willie Nylander. Maybe I'm just a hard marker.
No, I asked because, like, I went through the full spectrum of emotion or thoughts on what the Leafs were doing, from watching everybody leave, and the only piece coming in is Ryan Reeves, who I actually am a fan of, and I think that's going to be good for the group, whether he's in the lineup come playoff time or not, to watching Max Domi come in, watching Bertuzzi come in, Klingberg, and starting to see, okay, there was a plan here. They've added some pieces, and still not sure if this is a better group or not, to then seeing some of the analysis and saying, look at, he was brought in here to change the DNA. I think that was Craig Button that mentioned that on TSN. He said he was brought in to change the DNA of this group. And so, as much as I was a Luke Schenn fan and what he brought to the group from a character and culture standpoint, and as much as I was a fan of Ryan O'Reilly and getting the hometown kid in there and how much he embraced it, I wanted to see them take the next step. But at the same time, how can I argue that they needed a bit of a DNA change? I mean, where did your mind go throughout the last, 5 days?
Well, firstly, I would say it feels like the truculence era all over again, a la Brian Burke, and we know the friendship there with Berkey and Brad Tree Living.
Snot
I think they
is
were
the new word. Isn't that the one he used?
Yes. They wanted to play with a bit more snot. I like that. Ultimately, I think, comparatively speaking to the team that finished the season, I thought they were in need of a facelift. Granted, again, I'll admit I was disappointed they couldn't bring back Luke Schenn. Got a nice deal in Nashville. So did Ryan O'Reilly. I thought they were really good fits. I think ultimately what's happened here is that they've made this team better equipped to compete and be successful in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Now, it's easier said than done. I think on paper, they're just a tougher team to play against. And, Jay Rosal and I did something together yesterday, and we wondered if they're sacrificing a bit of regular season success for the ultimate goal of being a better team and a harder team to play against in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Again, easier said than done, but I don't mind what they've done because I think they realize that they need to have a systematic change in their approach and their style and their brand, the way they play in the Stanley Cup playoffs.
So you talk about regular season success, playoff success, what are they sacrificing? Is this team better or worse today as it was, a couple of months ago?
That honestly is the big question, right? And I just, it's so difficult to answer because, again, we've seen one team on paper and we've seen the other actually play. Granted, again, they were missing Matthew Knies for Game 5 against the Florida Panthers, so it's hard to quantify. I think they're different. I'm not dancing around the question. I think it's a different setup. I think they're taking a different approach because I'll be honest, I really, really like the composition of that roster to finish the season, at least going into the Stanley Cup playoffs. I like what they did. They had depth in the back end. They added depth up front. They added Ryan O'Reilly. In my world, there was not much more Kyle Dubas could have done to better equip that roster to be successful potentially in the Stanley Cup playoffs. And I think at this point in time, it's quite clear that it's all about the core four. We can have this conversation about all these players they add and the pugnacity and the different dimensions. But at the end of the day, the way I see it, it stems in your top players. And unfortunately, I think that's my lasting memory of the postseason, the last X amount of years. They can't score goals. And Darren, it makes no sense to me.
I know. And I talked about this with Clark a little bit off the air. And that needs to be the expectation, is that if you're going to spend that much money on 4 guys and then you want to add Morgan Riley into that and a goalie, you're going to have those 4 or 5 guys and a rotating cast of extras year over year, right? It's not going to be a core 9 or a core 12. It's going to be a core 4. I add 5 with Morgan Riley, and that's what you're going to deal with. And the other pieces are going to change. That's just reality if you're going to spend that kind of money, right?
Exactly. I know people were disappointed about Noel Acciari going to Pittsburgh. At the end of the day, it does not matter. Plain and simple. It is all about those 4 guys, and I like that you included Morgan Riley because I think he's pivotal and he's coming off a really, really excellent postseason. You sort of forget how bad he was in the regular season because of what he did in the Stanley Cup playoffs. But that's the whole point of this argument. It's like we can talk about it and debate it till we're blue in the face, what they've done, what they haven't done in the offseason, what they need, what they don't need. But when you have 4 players like that and you're unable to get the job done when it matters most, I think the the onus is on the players from the beginning. And we talked about this dating back to the trade deadline. It was no longer on management. To a degree, maybe it's on coaching, but at the end of the day, in my world, it's on the players on the ice. If you're superstar players and you're Willie Nylander and you want north of $10 million and you're Mitch Marner, you get paid handsomely. Ditto for John Tavares. Ditto, obviously, for Austin Matthews. Prove it. Show me something. Show me something in the Stanley Cup playoffs, and at this point, they've yet to do so.
Well, and that's the choice, right? That's the philosophy that Brendan Shanahan and Brad Treliving, and before that Kyle Dubas, have to make is, we've got 4 guys, say 5, and they're the horses, and we rely on them to produce. Or we get rid of 1 or 2 effort to have more depth throughout the lineup, right? And be a little tougher to play against, but maybe not quite as big of a ceiling. But that being said, let's switch gears to William Nylander now. And reports are he wants $10 million. They're looking in the $8 million range. That's a big gap. So where do you see this going with William Nylander?
Well, firstly, I'll say I'm not really shocked. I think if we learned anything from a couple years ago, the Nylander camp is prepared to do anything possible to extract the most value out of the contract, right? I think we noticed that it went to the final hour in that month of November with Lou Lamoriello, and it was like a game of chicken, and they finally signed, and he plays that game, and they play the Minnesota Wild that game. So I don't know, I think is the proper answer. I think I believe them to an extent, Brad Treliving being that they're trying their hardest and they think they're going to figure this out. But I always get back to that sort of stare down a couple years ago where it's like Nylander's chasing the money and he's going to go after it. I just don't see a resolution that doesn't involve. I don't even know if now's the right time to trade him. Like, I think you actually run it back with Nylander in a training camp, and if you have to trade him, you do it at the deadline. You make that in-season deal, because I just don't know who's out there right now in terms of trade possibilities, because most teams have utilized their money. So one way or another, I think it's hard to sort of dictate or quantify what way this is going to go, because I think it's the part of the negotiation that's very interesting, where every day you hear something new, right?
Yeah, big time. So we'll be following that on the daily. The other one that's really interesting to me now as we shift away is to, who the Leafs are going to have to go through, if and when they get to the playoffs and try and get out of the second round now. And one of those teams is Carolina. I think Carolina has one free agency. There are no holes in that lineup. They've got 2 goaltenders, including Freddie, who gets overshadowed by Bob, but was still really good in the playoffs. 2 goaltenders for, I think, less than $5 million for both of them. And now they just added Tarasenko, who I know has taken a bit of a step back from his prime St. Louis days, but still, that's one of the things maybe they were missing, was that real high-end, first-line, top talent, but, an ability to score goals. I think they've rounded out their roster quite nicely.
It's funny, I don't believe the Tarasenko signing is confirmed just yet. In fact, just coming on here, I was reading Elliot Friedman was talking about him changing his representation. What a time to fire your agent, like 5 days into free agency. So it doesn't sound like there's a confirmation there. Having said that, there's no question they're a perennial contender. And talking to a buddy in media today, it sounds like they're going to acquire Anthony DeAngelo, by the way, from Philadelphia. I think at some point in time it's going to happen over the next couple days, only solidifying that blue line. I thought he was a perfect fit to run that power play. And ultimately, I wonder what that means for a guy like Brent Burns and how they fit. It's almost similar to Karlsson and Burns in San Jose. I think Carolina's also been linked to Erik Karlsson. Like, there's so many moving parts, and I think it's quite clear that they want to shore up every loose end and make sure they actually win this thing. But it's so funny to me, you look at this Carolina team, if they were in a market like Toronto, the media would be blowing them up right now. But because they're in Carolina, nobody really talks about it. But year after year, they disappoint in the Stanley Cup playoffs. And I understand they had big-time injuries this year, but that's part of the game, right? And I think that's the intriguing factor for me is the last 5 years, I picked Carolina to win my Stanley Cup or at least make it far in the postseason. And they seem to disappoint. So if there's one thing I learned from this year, it really doesn't matter what your team looks like on paper. Vegas is a prime example of that. It's how you get the job done in the postseason that matters.
Yeah, I agree. I had Carolina going to the Cup final this year too and winning it. Just didn't happen, and they looked as good as they ever have coming in. But the other one, and here's a question of who do you think will have a better year? And maybe not points, but maybe it's versus the expectation. But who do you think is in a better spot and to have a better year? Connor Brown, who gets now to play back with Connor McDavid in Edmonton and relive the junior days, or Jonathan Drouin, who gets to go play with Nathan McKinnon in Colorado and relive the Halifax days?
I like that question because, I'm really tapped into fantasy hockey, and that's something I'm trying to figure out right now. I just love the reunions first and foremost. We'll start with Jonathan Drouin. Like, I'm not sold he's going to be in that top line right away. I just think this is a different player back from his junior days. And I think you look conversely at Connor Brown. Granted, he played 4 games last year, tore his ACL. It was a tough ending. And the fact that he was traded from Ottawa to Washington and they felt like they had a prime piece in his contract year and it just didn't work out. I just think he, believe it or not, has the higher upside, the chemistry, and sort of his game, what he brings to the table that I think could complement, weirdly enough, Connor McDavid, I think is a better fit than Jonathan Drouin, where unfortunately, I just don't know what Drouin we're going to get in Colorado. Like, I do think he was a guy who was in need of a change of scenery. I just don't know what type of player he is right now. And again, I'm not sold he's going to be in that top line with McKinnon and Rantanen.
Yeah, I agree. And it's almost like if he's not, then what's the point, right? I mean,
yeah.
Where is he? Where does he slot into the lineup? And I like Connor Brown moving into Edmonton. So I'm so big on that. And you talk about fantasy hockey and the stats. I mean, for me, it's a lot about situation, right? And whether it's football or hockey, who are your coaches? Who are your coordinators? Who are you playing with every day? Where are you playing? For me, that was a big question about guys like Sergei Bobrovsky when he first went to Florida and maybe wasn't crushing it like he was in Columbus, right? Like, maybe the guy enjoys the beach and likes to spend time at the beach, and there's no beach in Columbus, right? So he can be more focused on hockey. Like, situation and is so important and underrated.
Well, that's the one thing that drives me nuts in general about social media and Twitter and fans and all that. It's like even Ryan O'Reilly's getting a lot of heat. Like, we have no clue what kind of factors went into the decision to choose Nashville, state tax among them. Like, there's so many moving factors, and I think even talking to a couple players the last couple of days, like, nobody humanizes the situation. Like, you never hear somebody say, well, like, good for him and his family. Like, it makes a lot of sense. It's more so like, wow, they pissed off our team, or, they couldn't get the job done. Like, I think it's really, really stressful. Obviously, they paid lots of money, but I think it's so important to humanize the situation. I think you make a good point. We just never know what truly is happening behind the scenes with whatever happens in the NHL world, quite frankly.
It's so true. Hey, Nick, before we let you go, where can fans check out the show, Leafs Morning Take, and the fantasy stuff you're up to these days?
Yeah, so doing a lot of work for Daily Faceoff, doing some fantasy stuff for them, and obviously writing for theleafsnation.com, so make sure to check that out. And, of course, Leafs Morning Take with me and Jay Rosehill, former Toronto Maple Leaf. You can subscribe to our YouTube page at The Leafs Nation 401. Again, it's at The Leafs Nation 401. We've got a big-time guest coming up later this week, so make sure you check it out at The Leafs Nation 401.
I'm looking forward to it, Nick. All the best, my man, and we'll look you up soon now that I'm permanently in the GTA.
Sounds good. Thanks so much for having me.
Awesome. Nick Alberga joining us here on the video call. We'll take a break. We'll come back with more here from Charlotte. We're going to recap everything today, and we're also got a special conversation coming up with a really good foundation. You're not going to want to miss that. That's on the way as well. We'll update the poll question and get back into the YouTube chat on the other side of the break. It's the Rod Pedersen Show here on Game Plus TV, YouTube Live, and on your favorite podcast platform, including the favorites, Apple and Spotify.
I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Hey Rod Squad, now you can join the team with your very own RP Show gear. Head to rodpetersonshop.com and get yours today while supplies last. It's just like we wear on the show, official RP Show gear at rodpetersonshop.com.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Oh, yeah, he's back. Time for more of the Rod Pedersen Show.
Hey, welcome back under the tent here on a wonderfully warm day down south in Charlotte, North Carolina, the campus of UNC. Darren DuPont with you here. We're in for Rod Pedersen, and coming up shortly, we're going to have a wonderful visit with one of the great foundations in this country. That's going to be great. Stay tuned for that. You're not going to want to miss it. That's coming up before the top of the hour, and how you can get in on the cause and win some amazing prizes. So stick around for that because deadlines are coming up shortly. The number to text is 902-518-3033, and the YouTube chat is open as well. Jordan Ewer wants to know if Milos won. We're going to get to the Wimbledon update in this segment. Actually, let's do that now. Denis Shapovalov finally finished his, I'm not going to call it a marathon match, only in the fact that it wasn't a long match. It just stretched out over 3 days because of rain delays. He beat Radu Albot, came from behind to win that match, 5-7. Today, it was tied at 2 after dropping the first set 7-5. It was tied at 2 in the second set. Shapo, the 25 seed in the tournament, went on to win 6-4, 6-2, 6-2 to advance. So the break, real nice for Denis Shapovalov. Real nice. Leilani Fernandez also on a bit of a break after her opening round win. To our boy Milos, another win for Milos. He dropped the opening set in a tiebreaker 7-6, but took the second set 6-4, the third 7-6 in a tiebreaker, and then 6-1 in the fourth set over Denis Novak. So Milos is back. Look at Milos is not a contender to win Wimbledon, but winning a match was big. 2 years since he's been in a major, in a Grand Slam. So that was a really big deal for Milos. Let's check out the women's now and see where they are at today. Bianca Andreescu supposed to be on the court. It was a tough one for Carol Zhao, the 28-year-old, dropped her opening round match today to Tamara Korpich. She won 6-1 in the opening set, but then fell 6-4, 6-2 in the next two after such a promising start earlier today. Bianca Andreescu set to jump on the court really any minute. Bianca is going to face off against Anna Bondare of Italy. So that's coming up any minute. And Rebecca Moreno is supposed to be on the court a little bit later on today against Irina Camila Begu. She is the number 29 seed. Moreno not seeded in this one right now. So that's where we are in the Wimbledon update. To the YouTube chat. So that answers your question, Jordan Ewert. Milos did win, and he'll be back on the court in a couple of days. YouTube, let's see what's going on. Wayne Grollo writes, he says, my eyes glaze over when you talk millions of dollars in contracts. I can't understand wanting $10 million a year as opposed to $8 million a year. I just can't understand it. Well, it's going to sound ridiculous, but when you're making $30,000 and you're worth $50,000, shouldn't you get $50,000 if you're worth it? I know that's different because, I mean, $8 million versus $10 million, but it's somewhat similar. I mean, if you're worth the money, you're worth the money. And the other argument that I hear a lot of times is, you know, millionaires fighting over millions. And, you know, I could make, you know, $1 million a year for my life and be happy. And look, I could make $1 million a year and be really happy, right? You could make $1 million a year and be really happy. But what happens when you make $1 million a year? You join the Millionaires Club, right? You become a millionaire. So you buy the swanky house, you move to the Millionaires Crescent, right? But now you're the poor millionaire because everybody else on the Crescent's making $10 million a year. So $1 million's not enough to hang out with that new crowd. So you start making 10. You know what I mean? And the cycle goes, right? I mean, we'd like to sit here in fantasy land and think I could make $1 million and live my life and be happy. And you know what? A lot of people do that. And I bet you we could do that too. I really do. You know, and not move to the millionaire blocks and go to the yacht club and all those things. But that's what happens when you get into that level of playing with money. And a $2 million difference for William Nylander is a big, big gap to try and close. And so you got to decide what these guys are worth. And you know, when players take big haircuts, other players have a problem with that because you expect them to take a haircut. Tom Brady was always a guy who had a team-friendly contract, but he wasn't taking massive haircuts. He was still making money in performance bonuses, endorsements, and still his salaries were okay. They just were never the top salary in the NFL for the most part. There are exceptions. Craig Campbell writes in on YouTube. He was going back to the Toronto comment saying Toronto's the best team, or the Argos team is the best team in Toronto since '82. He means other pro sports teams. So he's meaning the Argos since '82 have been the best team, better than the Jays, the Raptors, the Leafs, I think, right? But the Raptors won a championship. The Jays have won a championship. But I get what you're saying. Consistently, the Argos have been very good. Very rare that the Argos have really been awful for a long stretch of time. I get where you're coming from, Wayne. Yeah, I get where you're coming from for sure. And the other thing to pay attention to in all of this, when it comes to salaries, and you got to remember when you're looking at, you know, a career, let's say you're making $2, $3, $4, $5 million. Well, how long is your career? 2, 3, 4, 5 years? 10 years? I mean, how many players really have 10, 15, 20-year careers? I don't think it's that common. And in football, it's even less common. So when you make that money, that's got to last you now the rest of your life potentially, unless you're going to get another job, which a lot of guys do. But now you're not living a $2 million lifestyle. You got to live a $200,000 lifestyle because that money's got to last you 10 years and the transition period. So there's a lot of hair on that, I know for sure. But you know what I'm talking about, right? When it comes to dollars and cents. Let's update the poll question for Key Yorkton Kia. You can vote on the poll here on YouTube. You can vote on the poll at rodpeterson.com. The poll question today, as it is every single Wednesday, is what is Canada's game of the week? There it is for Kia. Your options are Thursday night's Edmonton-Saskatchewan game in Regina, Friday night's clash of the Stamps and the Bombers in Winnipeg, Ottawa in Hamilton on Saturday, and BC home to Montreal on Sunday. Last time we checked, it was a dead heat. Winnipeg and Calgary on Friday, and Saskatchewan-Edmonton on Thursday. Dead even. Clark, where are we at now?
Calgary-Winnipeg is slightly pulled ahead,
Okay.
and on Twitter I also tweeted it, they're way ahead.
Okay, so Calgary-Winnipeg is pulled slightly ahead here on YouTube, and it's been tweeted now, and they're way ahead. So Calgary-Winnipeg, the Stamps 1 and 2, Winnipeg 3 and 1, and last time we checked on Bet Regal, it was the Bombers favored by 8 points in that one. So how about that? Are we good to break now early, Clark?
Yes, we are good.
So we'll break early. We got a great interview on the other side, so stay tuned. Mark Auden is there from Stars Air Ambulance. I'm looking forward to this one. It's a great, great cause that's close to a lot of us that are from the province, so excited to have Mark on the program. We're going to do that next. Then we're going to put a bow on everything on your Wednesday, moving into a wonderful Thursday where Rod will be back. So one final time out here on the RP Show, watching on Game Plus TV and YouTube Live, and you're listening on the podcast and on WQEE radio as well as the podcast, where you can listen on Apple or Spotify.
Hi, my name is Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Looking to buy a pre-owned vehicle? With the largest selection of quality pre-owned vehicles in the Parkland, you're sure to find it at Key Auto Group. We'll treat you right every time, and it's all just a click away at keyautogroup.ca.
Is it time to take your event online? Bring it to IKS Live. We've got a fully customized virtual event platform with remote guest support for your next fundraiser, talk show, conference, performance, and more. IKS Live offers live streaming to Facebook Live and YouTube and pre-recorded capabilities, both in our studio with green screen available and on location with pre-production and post-production services. Visit us at ikslive.ca.
Hey Rod Squad, now you can join the team with your very own RP Show gear. Head to rodpetersonshop.com and get yours today while supplies last. It's just like we wear on the show, official RP Show gear at rodpetersonshop.com.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Oh, yeah, he's back. Time for more of the Rod Pedersen Show.
Welcome back to the Rod Pedersen Show here on the Game Plus TV network, YouTube, on the podcast platform, and WQEE Radio in Atlanta. Darren DuPont with you in here for Rod Pedersen, who will be back tomorrow here on the program. He is currently traveling down here to Charlotte, North Carolina for the IFAF World Championships, the Flag Championships, and the One Flag Championship for USA Football, all happening down here in Charlotte, North Carolina, on the campuses of UNC. So we got play-by-play duties. I'll tell you, Canada's off to a pretty good start on both the men's and women's side, and the kids are going too. So it is a full week. There is over 100 teams here. It's going to be awesome. But right now I want to welcome in Mark Auden from Stars Air Ambulance to the program. The Stars Lottery Saskatchewan is going on now. Mark, welcome to the show. How are things?
Things are very well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, happy to have you on. I know you're there in the hangar, the Stars Air Ambulance sitting in there behind you. Love it. Love this organization and what you guys do for the people. So tell me about the lottery. I know the early bird deadline's coming up Friday, and some big prizes up for grabs.
Absolutely. There are over 1,600 prizes up for grabs worth more than $3.6 million. And as you mentioned, that early bird prize deadline is coming up midnight on Friday, and that gets you in for a chance to win the Ultimate Road Trip Package, which is a fully loaded RV motorhome, an Access Thor RV with a $5,000 fuel card, a $5,000 Saskatchewan Parks gift card, and $10,000 cash. Or if the Ultimate Road Trip isn't your thing, it's $200,000 cash. Either way, it's an amazing prize for an amazing cause. And of course, when you get your tickets before that early bird deadline, you're also entered to win all the other over 1,600 prizes that are up for grabs as well in this year's lottery.
Unbelievable. And a 50-50 as well, so money to be won. It is unbelievable, and I know it's important to me. It's important to Rod. We're Saskatchewan guys and friends of ours. I mean, we're really close with Kim Coates, who's been an ambassador for Stars for a long time. He just speaks so highly. But for the people who are uninitiated, I'd rather you than me, but tell us a little bit about Stars and the services and just how important it is to the communities.
Well, we say that we are your best case in a best chance in a worst case scenario. We exist to provide critical care to those the most critically ill and injured across our province and really across Western Canada. We provide critical care in the back of that aircraft that really brings the intensive care unit to you. So not only are we a smooth and quick response that can get you to the tertiary care that you maybe need in a larger center, but we can start that care and those diagnostics in the back of that aircraft right away. Everything from ultrasound to blood transfusions to highly technical diagnostics and more. Our highly trained air medical crew, paramedics, nurses, and physicians can care for you while they are taking you to that hospital. In Saskatchewan, we've been here since 2012, and we say we were built by the community for the community. The government of Saskatchewan generously provides funding, 50% of our funding that we need to operate each and every year, but that still leaves us with $10.5 million that we need to fundraise each and every year, and we do that through a variety of methods, through corporate and individual gifts and philanthropy, through community fundraisers, events and galas and golf tournaments. But the lottery is our largest fundraiser of the year. And so we really rely on it to provide some of that critical funding. And when you buy a lottery ticket, you not only have a chance to potentially change your life with some of the awesome prizes up for grabs, but you are helping to save someone else's life. And when you see that red helicopter up in the sky, you know that you had a hand in putting it there to help people across the province.
Yeah, that's so true and so awesome. We always say, too, when the helicopter's flying, it's that's a tough day, but gosh, are we blessed that it is in the air, because trying to make a bad day just a little bit better and help save lives. So that's really awesome. StarsLottery.ca is the website, 1-844-STARS-SK, the number to call. Just so awesome. What else do people need to know about the lottery? What other prizes are up there that would be enticing outside of the road trip? Because that road trip is unbelievable. And I mean, the province is so big and there's so many cool spots to explore, and you got a $5,000 gas card to do it. I mean, that's pretty. My mind's going to a million places on what I would do. I'd probably swing past a Rider game, and then I'd head up north, and you'd go all over the place, right? But what else is up for grabs?
Absolutely. Well, I agree with you. That ultimate road trip package would just be amazing, all decked out, ready to go, and a really sweet ride to explore this province. But beyond that, there are lots of other great prizes. Every year we have 2 beautiful grand prize dream homes, and this year's no exception. There's one just outside of Regina in beautiful Spruce Creek Estates. There's one in Saskatoon in the community of Brighton. They are each valued at well north of $1.1 million. In fact, the one in Spruce Creek Estates is $1.5 million. They come to you fully furnished and decorated, just beautiful, beautiful homes. But beyond that, there are fabulous vacations and experiences.
Yeah.
One of them being, the ultimate sports trip too. Or you can get cash alternatives. There are amazing vehicles or cash alternatives, epic experiences to do all sorts of things, from sporting events to, fishing up north, spa experiences, and then thousands of other gift cards, home and electronics, jewelry, you name it. And of course, you mentioned at the beginning that Lucky Stars 50/50, which gets more and more popular every year. And it could see one lucky winner go home with half of up to $5 million. So there are prizes for everyone. And of course, it's all going to a great cause.
StarsLottery.ca. Mark, appreciate the time. Great job. Good luck with the lottery, and all the best.
Thank you so much.
Mark Otten's with us. StarsLottery.ca or 1-844-STARS-SK. We're into the final minute of the show. So one final text from Richard Bieberdorf. He says the Oilers should trade Nurse for Erik Karlsson. Whew. Maybe that's something we got to get into and save for tomorrow's show. How do you leave a monkey in suspense? We'll tell you tomorrow. Rod's back tomorrow as well, so stay tuned. Thanks for watching the RP Show here on Game Plus and YouTube Live from Charlotte. We'll be back tomorrow. Going to be a great show. Big thanks to Justin Dunk for joining us as well. And also thanks to Nick Alberga and our Player Spotlight with DaShaun Amos. We will see you tomorrow here on the RP Show. Game Plus, YouTube, and on the podcast.
Who has more fun than us?